Welcome to X's and O's with Minnesota Vikings head coach Kevin O'Connell, courtesy of the Minnesota Lottery. And I'm Paul Allen. Off a victory against the New Orleans Saints, the Minnesota Vikings are back on the road, taking on the Denver Broncos. And that one's on KFAN and the Vikings Radio Network. Those of you with Vikings.com, we welcome you. And here comes the coach. I don't think I could like a touchdown more than the Ty Chandler touchdown.
Yeah.
I mean, it just may seem so simplistic, but it's like watching it back. 20, Werner, I'm not going to say he knew the play, but I mean, you could tell he was about ready to try to ruin that thing, so you double him. Reisner gets off him, gets Granderson in time.
Yep.
Darrisaw's killing Lattimore, bad matchup for the corner. And then, just to make sure everything's cool, there's Bradbury 5 yards deep in the end zone on DeMario Davis.
Yeah.
I mean, how often do plays work perfectly like that?
Well, the biggest thing that Josh allows us to do is they've got to treat him, or at least have a plan for him, as a threat. And we knew whether it was, a spy or somebody responsible for him, we could maybe pull one guy out of the box there, whether it was a DB or a linebacker type. We're basically running a toss crack play on a direct snap to Ty, knowing that he'd be able to hit it with a ton of juice like he did. How about N'Keal Harry down there coming in? Doesn't, have a catch in the game. Nobody will really even notice the impact outside of us coaches, but gets a great down block to get it all started. And then I did know once I saw big old CD with only the corner left out there, I knew we were it was going to take catastrophe for us not to find.
I mean, there are certain things you see in games, and when you guys watch back film, I would imagine with the All-22, you see some things just to keep it like humorous and with levity, where you go back and forth, when something's working really well your way, and when you see a big man like that matched up against a corner in open space, it's just crazy. But that was a victory, and now hopefully you get another one against Denver because there's more muddle through which to navigate. Jordan Hicks, maybe the heart and soul of the defense. Yep. Having the best season of his career, quite honestly, like several on this Vikings defense. Now you got to get around that. What's the immediate impact in the Denver game?
Yeah, it's huge. Jordan's been our green dot communication system from Flo all season long. He's really been an extension of Flo out on that defense. We're doing a lot of different things, check defense, from one thing to another based upon what the opposing side wants to do. So we've got to try to rely on a lot of experience from Ivan Pace through the early part of this season, but even going back, if you remember, in preseason, that's why we had him with the green dot the entire time through a lot of snaps. So he handled it well when Jordan couldn't be in there this past Sunday, and a mixture of IP and Brian Asamoah and Troy Dye, and we'll see where Anthony Barr fits into that mix as a possible elevation. We still have Nick Vigil as well. So we've got a good mix right now of youth and experience in that room to really help kind of pick up the slack, because Jordan has, like you said, I totally agree with you. He's been the heart and soul, having one of his best seasons as a pro, and he's had a heck of a career. So that's really saying something.
Well, fans here obviously are familiar with Anthony when he got here in 2014. Practice squad for now. Correct me if I'm wrong, like 43 and a half snaps on average last year with Dallas. Anthony always was very physical and just very physical at the point of attack. And I know you like that with your inside guys, right?
Well, you think about it, he's a good off-the-ball inside linebacker, like what Jordan Hicks played. But he also has, great experience in his career kicking down and being an on-the-ball outside backer like a Daniil or DJ Wanham. So now we feel like we really elevated maybe a couple position groups there. I think his versatility, his experience, he left an unbelievable mark in this building. I could feel that from day one coming in last year. We would have loved to try to find a way to keep him on our roster at the time, but as decisions had to be made, I communicated with Anthony throughout that time. So when I picked up the phone to call him this go around, he was excited to come back. I know Harrison Smith might have been doing a little recruiting for us, but he is going to have an impact on our team. I don't know whether that's going to be 10 or 60 snaps a football game, but as of right now, we plan to get him up to speed, see when we can, use those 3 elevations from the practice squad. That's within the rules for us to be able to do. And I'm quite frankly excited to see Anthony Barr back out there.
Kevin Dobbs goes for 268 passing, career high for him in the game against the Saints. So what improved dramatically from Atlanta to New Orleans with how he saw the whole thing?
Had a great week of practice. His preparation, I don't know if he left the building throughout the week leading up to it. He's got great work habits, study habits, and really good rapport with the guys already. Did some extra work throughout the week, getting throws in with guys, just trying to build up on some time lost, knowing that he's going to, be the guy. He's going to be out there. He's going to be leading us to a lot more victories, hopefully. But I thought in game, it felt a little bit more normal as far as, a guy who fully absorbed the game plan and made a lot of it come to life. We still saw the athleticism. We also saw him progressing in the pocket, in rhythm, getting to some backside concepts, hits BP on a big conversion a couple times on the backside. TJ had a huge day because, a lot of our inside-out passing game, Josh was in rhythm, great technique, fundamentals, decision-making, timing, accuracy. So a lot to build off of for Josh. There's some things that we can improve on. There's 1,000 things that I could do better. I can do better to help him. But PA, I was pretty excited coming off of the Atlanta performance to see some growth and some, real understanding of how we want to play. And now we want to see the same thing again this week against a really good defense.
Is your offensive line on a roll right now?
Yeah, I think, I don't. CD and I think Christian Darrisaw and Brian O'Neill are having the years we kind of expected. And for B.O. coming off his injury to be as solid as he's been all year long, I mean, you forget kind of what his offseason was like leading into the season, but getting Garrett Bradbury back was huge for us. And then, Dalton Reisner has been huge for us. I think that's clear. I think fans can see the enthusiasm, the finish that 66 plays with. On that one Hawkinson catch and run, you see 66 down there exploding the pile, doing some sort of a karate kick over the pile. I told him, if the officials didn't know how nice of a guy you were, you're probably getting a 15-yard penalty, so try to be careful on that. But the guy I do want to talk about is Ed Ingram, because I think his growth, this guy really took some, the learning curve last year, being a rookie in this league, playing as much as he did. And it's so visible sometimes when an interior lineman playing against Dexter Lawrence and Quinnen Williams and Kenny Clarks. I mean, that is a baptism by fire type of situation. And the growth we're seeing now, the physicality he's playing with, it's just exciting for a coach to kind of, ride that wave early on with a young player. And then you see the light go on, the consistency start to show up. I'm really excited about Ed Ingram.
I'm really glad you brought him up, because I'm sure there were learning curve problems last year, and you would know all of them. But to make every game and to make every practice in your rookie season in the trenches, that's a win in my book.
No doubt. And I think the best thing about it was there were a lot of plays that Ed could have been better on last year and even early on in this year. But what I love about Ed is he has no flinch, and he's going to just continue to work, continue to apply the techniques and fundamentals that Chris Cooper and Justin Riscotti are coaching him to do, snap in and snap out. And I think just the comfort level with Garrett Bradbury and Brian O'Neill next to him, that veteran presence to allow him to continue to ascend. I think those guys deserve a lot of credit. His coaches do. But Ed, by far, deserves the most credit for having the mental and physical toughness to do what you just said.
So off your Monday press conference earlier this week, you mentioned, Alex Smith and Colin Kaepernick and some other names. In 2016, you were in San Francisco. So, like with Josh Dobbs, I mean, can you take some Kaepernick plays and revise them or use them? I mean, is that like now in play? Or is it too schematically opposite of what you do?
No, I think with time on task and really an attention to detail, I think our goal here is to always, week in and week out, do whatever our players do well to try to give us the best chance to win a football game. I do believe that we've got to find a balance, because we are, although we're hoping to have Nick Mullins back soon and Jaron Hall's going to recover and return from the protocol here, I'm really not in the business of playing 5 or 6 quarterbacks this year.
Right.
We happen to like having Josh in the game for us right now, and he's proven that we can win football games with him. So we've got to find that balance, kind of like what you saw the other day, whether it's motioning him out to get a direct wildcat-esque run for Ty Chandler, or maybe it's using him in the zone read situationally, like on the big third down, third and short conversion. We almost ended the game. We were a stumble away from ending the game in the victory formation late there. So we're going to try to use it when we can, but as coaches, it's a slippery slope because all of a sudden it gets easier to run the football when you can add that other element of the quarterback run. But defenses can make him pull the ball, and they can rally to tackle him, and that is our quarterback in the NFL when that's happening. So I think you got to find a balance. We did play all three quarterbacks, if you remember, in 16 in San Francisco. We played Christian Ponder and Colin Kaepernick and Blaine Gabbert. We probably would have ended up playing a few more if we, continued down that road. So we got to be smart, but there's no question that Josh Dobbs' athleticism has been a huge bonus for our offense.
Hopefully I can frame this up right because it's very fascinating to me. Like Flores' defense has like 700-ish snaps now.
Yep.
Okay, so I mean, that's a lot of equity from Devontae Smith in the Philadelphia game to where we are now, getting everything squared away with what he shows as opposed to what he runs. So now you have 137 with Dobbs. So how important is it to get hundreds of plays on film late in the season with the bye coming up so that you can show and execute?
Yeah, and a lot of it is that we want our opponents to see those things. But PA, there's times just watching back the game from the other day that you can see new ideas just kind of show up from our tape.
That's awesome.
How runs were fit, how play action passes in certain formations were showing up. And we got to some of those in the game, but you can always look back on it in reflection mode and really game plan off of what you've shown. I think that's what Brian and his staff has done, like you said, a really, really good job of really transforming week in and week out, applying layers to our defense while still staying true to who we want to be and make it so that our players can go out there and play fast. That's the secret to good coaching, in my opinion, is how much can we make it look like they've been doing it for years and years and years together, offensively, defensively, and make it all kind of come together in a way where we can have success on a Sunday.
Last one, and it's just something with Josh Metellus just blows me away every single game, win or loss. Now we're coming through the A gap, but I mean, is Metellus? I'm not saying that he's Troy Polamalu, but is he kind of your version? I mean, he's all over the place.
Yeah, he can be really the depth chart that I know you hold while you're calling the game. That is very valuable. But as far as 4-4 is concerned, you might have him listed in 3 or 4 different columns because we can line him up at linebacker, we can line him up at safety, he'll line up on the end of the line of scrimmage, he'll line up, in some cases man-to-man outside in a corner position if we want him to. The versatility and the value of a player like that who, oh, by the way, absolutely loves playing football more than anything and is kind of the heart and soul, brings the juice every single week, as he did a year ago, in the kicking game that really separated our special teams unit from a lot of others in this league, is having a guy like that. He's doing the same thing on our defensive side now. And when you pair him with Harrison Smith and Cam Bynum and the rest of our group, it's pretty fun to watch.
Well, as an aside, just to close here now with the Hicks situation and Troy Dye, Asamoah, whomever, and Marvin Mims Jr. I mean, this comes down to special teams too, right? Pulling good guys off maybe in some spots?
Yeah, well, the next man up, it's easy sometimes for people to see it on offense or defense. But we saw it last week with Shaheed. I thought he was one of the better returners, more explosive in this league. And Najee Thompson making some huge plays to get him on the ground, beating a double vice, to get a shoestring tackle one time. The same thing will have to happen this week. You mentioned it. I studied Mims a lot coming out, and I think he's explosive. They're finding ways to get him touches, but as their returner, we saw it again Monday night in Buffalo, flipping the field, giving him great field position. We've got to have, answers for when we do have to punt. Hopefully we can keep that number down. I'd love to have a game where we don't punt at all, and you'd love to have that. But going on the road at Denver, this defense is playing really well. We're going to need a really complete 3-phase performance from our team to go get our 7th win.
Excellent. Thank you for the time.
Yeah, thank you, PA.
Kevin O'Connell, head coach of the Minnesota Vikings, and I'm Paul Allen. More X's and O's around the corner on the KFAN Minnesota Vikings Radio Network.